Shrek 2 is 20 years old. That is freaking wild. This instant classic comedy is actually going to be replaying Encore in theaters this weekend to celebrate the 20th anniversary. And I remember my hometown opening up its local movie theater back in 2004, and this is one of the earliest memories I have of going to that building, watching Shrek 2. Like, I just could not leave that place. And it's not just because the theater experience was exciting, it's because even as a 7-year-old kid going on 8 at the time, I adored this movie. And now 20 years later, I'm 27 years old now. This, I can comfortably say, is not just the best of the Shrek movies, but I think it's one of the greatest comedies that's ever been put to screen. So Shrek and Fiona, both now ogres, spoiler from the last one, return home from their honeymoon, and they learn that Fiona's parents have heard that she has married her true love, and they wish to invite them to their kingdom far, far away. Which I must say is designed absolutely wonderfully. It looks like Beverly Hills. You have like Burger Prince in the background, like some brilliant franchise puns. But here's the thing, Fiona's parents aren't exactly aware that she married Shrek, an ogre. They're not really aware that the curse was broken in the way that they envisioned. They just assume that she married Prince Charming. Charming here is played by Rupert Everett, who turns out to be the son of our villain, the fairy godmother, voiced by Jennifer Saunders. And the fairy godmother's diabolical plan is basically to put Fiona with her son, and basically in her eyes to make all things right in the world, because ogres don't live happily ever after. So Shrek basically has to earn his love back, all with the help of Donkey, once again voiced by Eddie Murphy, and a talking cat voiced by Antonio Banderas, Puss in Boots. Like, this character is so popular, they gave him not one but 2 spin-off movies. And that's just a few things that make Shrek 2 so damn good. The characters and the realization of the characters and their whole motivations and everything just, it is such a beautiful puzzle. All the while making for a great romantic comedy plot. And that brings me to the big kicker as to why I think Shrek 2 is better. I just think overall, across the board, it's funnier. It might seem elementary, but the whole montage of Shrek and Fiona actually traveling to far, far away with Donkey constantly asking, "Are we there yet?" And then him finding a way to entertain himself, it gets me cracking up every time.
Are we there yet?
Now, usually the parental characters are not the most interesting of the bunch. Usually they're not written to be funny characters in their own rights. But here, King Harold and Queen Lillian, I think, are both very well realized characters. And his spell has been broken by the fairy godmother, and that's why he is looking to get charming with his daughter. That's John Cleese of Monty Python fame voicing King Harold, and man does he hit it out of the park. His arc is so great in terms of the redemption, because when you get to Far, Far Away, you think that he's the villain. And I thought that he was going to be the villain, like, point blank. But it's such a wonderful bait and switch where he's actually under the finger of the fairy godmother. And might I add, Jennifer Saunders is so freaking good in this. She sells every bit of this diabolical plan. And it's almost like if you took Glinda from The Wizard of Oz and made her evil. Like, think about it. This is a character that makes her grand entrance in a big heap of bubbles. How did Glinda descend into Munchkinland when we were introduced to her back in the day? A big fat bubble. I dare you to try and change my mind that this is not Glinda in reverse. And she's the only character that actually gets some musical numbers interwoven into things, including the famous Holding Out for a Hero, which plays during the big gigantic climax where they're storming the castle. I still have that shit on loop. Might I add, the soundtrack of this movie arguably might be better than the original Shrek. All due respect to Smash Mouth, I love All Star, I love I'm a Believer, but again, across the board, you have some pretty killer tracks in this. And every single one of them makes sense. You have Funky Town playing as they're driving through Far, Far Away the first time. Accidentally in Love plays at the very beginning with Shrek and Fiona's honeymoon montage, which is so freaking sweet. And the romance between Shrek and Fiona is very well realized. I feel like it would be very difficult for them to basically rehash a storyline that they had in the previous movie, but it's so believable here, and you can't help but feel like that you want to see these two end up together. Like, this entire cast across the board is fantastic. Mike Myers, once again, so likable as our hero. Fiona, Cameron Diaz, is so freaking spunky in this. She's so funny. Eddie Murphy is hilarious in this. I might have mentioned that earlier with that scene where he's just popping his lips. but he gets some funny stuff to say, especially when he turns into the white Bronco. I'm trotting! Whew! Got to be. Shrek, I think you grabbed the body ever after potion. And I gotta give Shrek 2 a massive amount of credit, because when this happily ever after potion is introduced, it's a huge gamble that Dreamworks is taking. Because not only is Donkey turning into this white Bronco, Shrek is turning into this attractive beefcake. He doesn't look like himself. And yet you are still so into these characters. Like every single one, even the side villain, Rupert Everett as Prince Charming, freaking hilarious in this. I didn't even mention Julie Andrews as the Queen. Like, you could just look at how she's animated and her facial expressions and how she's looking at King Harold, and you can just tell that it's Julie Andrews. And yeah, let's talk about Antonio Banderas as Puss in Boots. Like, this might be my favorite role of his. Because when you first meet him when King Harold is hiring him to kill Shrek out in the deep forest, it's so neat because you just see him as this hitman who hides in the shadows. And then when he actually does attack Shrek, it's so funny because Shrek thinks this little kitty is so cute. And all the slapstick that is introduced. And oh, the cuteness that is introduced when Puss in Boots is begging to accompany Shrek and Donkey. Like, I will never forget the first reaction in that theater when I was a little kid. Every single person around me, when Puss in Boots' eyes got all big and he was just looking at Shrek like he did, everybody was like the knights during the climax. The memorable scenes are way too many to count. The dinner sequence has me laughing my ass off every time. The fairy godmother basically looking like she's gonna torture King Harold when actually she's just going through the drive-thru. That's really funny. And when Shrek, Donkey, and Puss in Boots are imprisoned, it's a Mission Impossible reference with Pinocchio going down to rescue them. Pinocchio is such an underrated character in this universe, and he was especially funny in Shrek 2. I'm, wearing a lady's underwear. Are you? Well, I most certainly am not! And of course, when they're getting the wand from the fairy godmother... Poor Pinocchio, he was just living out his dream. And who can forget Shrek and all of the fairy tale creatures storming the far, far away kingdom on a gigantic freaking gingerbread man? And I gotta admit, the Frankenstein reference thrown in there is freaking awesome. Like, every attempt that Dreamworks has at a joke, not only is it all beautifully animated, which goes without saying, just look at the movie, but they go for it, and 99% of the time, these jokes are a slam dunk. Not only is it extremely funny, but super ultra creative. Like, I didn't even mention that King Harold goes to this underground pub to go and meet Puss in Boots for the first time, where all the villains hang out. It's called the Poison Apple. Isn't that such an awesome name? I could go on for 3 straight hours gushing about how much I love this movie. Like, the inventiveness, the creativity, the hilarity, the dialogue, the character arcs, it's just all so damn good. Shrek 1 will always go down as the instant classic that put Dreamworks on the map, but I always have more fun whenever I go back and rewatch Shrek 2. And for its 20th anniversary, everybody should absolutely go and revisit this. I'm gonna give Shrek 2 an A+. Not only should you revisit this, but if you have the DVD of it, go watch Far, Far Away Idol again. Like, you don't know what Far, Far Away Idol is? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. That was like when American Idol was at its peak of popularity, and they just had all these characters come in and do like a parody rendition of a song that is catered to their character. Shrek, Fiona, and Simon Cowell are the judges. And Fiona is just doing her best Paula Abdul impression, and it's so funny to watch. Just make sure you pick the right winner, otherwise Simon Cowell will just ruin your day. Like, that's how much this movie means to me. Even the DVD extras, like, live rent-free in my head. Let me know what your memories of Shrek 2 are down in the comments. Let me know what you think the funniest joke was in this movie. Is this your favorite of the Shrek movies, or do you prefer the original classic? There's a lot that we can talk about over here, and then some. I love getting in front of this camera, guys. I love talking about all things movies, all things in the entertainment world. If you guys want to join a great community of geeks, film lovers, and entertainment lovers alike, y'all are in the right spot. So do consider subscribing today and tap on that thumbs up. That would be a huge help. And stay tuned for more videos very soon. I'm looking forward to checking out Shrek the Third once again. It's been a long time since I've watched that one. I feel like that movie gets more hate than it deserves. At least that's how I feel before a rewatch. We'll see if my opinion at all changes. But guys, y'all are the best. Thank you so much again for your support. And with all that being said, back talk, commence.